Hey guys, what's up? I shut down my agency. You've heard this time and time again. Some guru online making a YouTube video claiming, they run this huge agency and then overnight they shut it down. And you're just wondering, I'm running an agency, I'm starting one. Why are those guys shutting it down? They seem quite successful. What am I missing, right? So I just wanted to make this video. To be honest, out of personal interest, I've been running my agency for over 3 years now. I have a lead generation agency doing over 7 figures a year. And, I want to basically tell you why I'm still running my agency. Why am I still doing this after 3 years? Why haven't I switched to some other model? Even though, I might sell some other stuff in the future, I'll still run the agency for the time being because I've done a couple of things, I think, in the right way. And I just wanted to share my thoughts with that. So the first reason I see a lot of people shut down their agency is because of something called agency jail. So you gotta excuse my handwriting. But this is one of the main things I've seen people shut down their agencies for, and it's because they basically are doing everything themselves. To be honest, I wouldn't even call it an agency. I would much more call it like a freelancing business or a freelancer, with some VAs. That's not really an agency business, and people shut down their company because of this, because they're in agency jail. And it's basically because they take sales calls themselves, they then close deals, so they're happy, so they make some closes. But then because they close a lot and they've done a lot of sales, they then get work to do and delivery, and then they have to do sales again because after especially a lot of beginner agency owners, they don't have the best retention. So maybe after like 3 months, a lot of the people churn, and they're basically just stuck in a cycle, of doing everything themselves, going from the sales call to doing the work, to going to the sales call to doing the work, and they don't really know how to get out of it. So the way I got out of this is by, if you're watching this channel, you already know, building systems and automations. And the main thing I've done for this is standardizing my processes, as in the delivery for every single client was the same. And because it was the same, I can start hiring people, not just VAs, but also, full-time employees that could take client calls and that kind of stuff. And, I could automate this process and just get it a lot more straight, get it a lot more clear. And just basically get a lot more work done because this was taken away. I just had to focus on the sales and the closes. And then I hired a sales team. And now basically I'm just standing right here, that's me, looking at the business from the outside in, being able to, work on the business as opposed to in the business. So this is the first reason I see a lot of people shut down their agency. And, to prevent this, standardize your offer, start working on systems and automations early on. Don't listen to anyone saying they're doing 200K and they have not a single SAP. If they do that, they're absolutely great at sales. But they could be making a lot more and a lot more margin if they also did the systems part, and especially at a done-for-you agency, systems are so important. Second reason I see a lot of people struggle in the agency model is, they want to get away because the lack of leverage. It actually kind of intertwines with the previous thing I said about being an agency jail. So you have leverage in 2 ways, right? On your agency, in the front end and in the back end, you can apply leverage. So when acquiring clients or when fulfilling for clients. So if you don't know what leverage is, by the way, I've thrown this out before. I don't know who came up with this, but it's basically, if you, the concept of leverage is obviously that, you have a line and then you have the stabilization point here. You press here, but you get a much larger result. And then in terms of business leverage, you basically have on the top end, you have code and media, which are the best ones. Think about Facebook, they're printing money because they're doing media, they're doing code. You then have capital, and then at the bottom you have labor. So that's the forms of leverage you have. And then in an agency, you obviously have on the front end, or any business really, you have the front end to have leverage in, and the back end. So why I see a lot of people quit is because in the back end, they don't have leverage. Don't team, let's call that. So they don't have a team. That's kind of the first point. But then in the front end, they also don't have any leverage. So for example, they're doing cold DM outreach themselves every single morning, sending 10 messages. Then again, if you scroll up, they are doing the outreach, then they have to do the sales calls, then they have to close, then they have to do the work. And basically whenever they grow, every single new client they have, it just piles on top of the work they're already doing. So how to prevent that is I would very early on hire an appointment setter. Hire a VA if you're not from an English-speaking country or your business doesn't operate in an English-speaking country. Hire like a student, someone going to college, wanting to earn a couple bucks every day by doing the same task, and get yourself an appointment setter. Because again, this is one of those main reasons why people quit. It sucks to send out 20 messages every day, while also taking the calls, while also doing that stuff. And sure, I'm all for grinding, and you can definitely do that a couple months. But after a while, you just will no longer do it. Like no one is superhuman, no one, or maybe some people are, but for me, I just wouldn't want to do that all the time. You want to apply as much leverage, especially in the agency model, because you have not a lot of leverage. You want to apply as much leverage as you can, basically. So get an appointment setter on the front end, use automation, of course, again. So use cold email, use LinkedIn, use those types of channels where you can, put in like, let's say 1 to 3 hours of work setting up the campaign, and then it runs on autopilot because you have the emails going out, and then it's just handling the replies, right? Like that makes it a lot more easy as opposed to doing a channel where it's all manual. So that's 2 things on the front end at the beginning. And then also a really big one is obviously to start creating content early on, because content is, if you remember, is one of those things that has leverage. So if you build an audience around the thing you do at your agency, it can work really well. You only want to make sure that you attract the right people, because if you make a lot of how-to content, you'll basically attract a lot of competitors or wannabe people. You'll end up becoming a guru to explain to those people how to sell. So you want to make the content the right way. So if you want to see a video about that, let me know and I can make it. But anyway, that's basically the second reason I see a lot of people quit, is just the lack of leverage, and especially the models they usually go to, like coaching or whatever. They usually have a lot more leverage, right? Because on the front end you're doing media, and on the back end you're also doing media because you're selling them a course, basically, right? So it's a lot more leveraged. So you might ask, why just not start a coaching? Well, because you can only start a coaching if you have experience, right, guys? And with a business like this, you don't have to be involved, because you can apply leverage with labor, which you should be doing, and automation to, have a company that's as leveraged as possible within the model. And then I think the last one is that I've seen a lot actually, and it's a bit more personal or emotional, is lack of gratitude from clients. So I can't write here, but basically lack of gratitude from clients. So people, they put in a lot of work on their service just to have a client be like, this sucks, I didn't close any deals, this didn't improve my conversion, and you're like, whoa, but I put in all this work and I did a great job, I don't agree, blah, blah. Basically a lot of conflict around, client deliverables. And to be honest, this is kind of part of the game when you're selling a done-for-you service. You're kind of selling the result, you're telling them I can generate you leads, not I'm gonna try and generate you leads. But to minimize this as much as possible, to have healthy relationships with clients, I'm really big fan of just setting the right expectations, right? Expectations. If you set them too high, and you deliver right below, so you're still having really great results. Let's say you promise 100 leads in 3 months, but you deliver 80 leads and they closed a lot of revenue, made a great ROI, they still will be disappointed because you set the bar too high and you delivered below it. On the other hand, if you set the bar a little bit lower, and you then you under-promise and over-deliver, obviously you're going to have a better client relationship, and you're going to have more gratitude. You're going to be happy, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about, and he actually got me great results, and it's even better than I expected, right? Because he under-promised and over-delivered. So that's a really big thing, and that's also a big thing to include with that is work with established companies. So a good example I can give you here is, for example, recently I worked with some little bit more too beginner at my agency, and basically what happened is they got the first lead in, and they were like a week later like, okay, why hasn't the first lead closed yet? And we're like, well, did you even talk to the guy yet? Yeah, yesterday. It was the first introductory call. It was the first lead. Well, obviously you're not going to have any closes yet, right? So you can kind of prevent these types of situations if you only work with established clients and you only work with people, that have maybe tried it themselves before, so they can actually compare and they have just a realistic set of expectations for what the reality of running a business is, and that it's not going to be like just snapping in your fingers. And that was the second one, this video, but snapping in your fingers and just getting it done, right? Like that's just not how it works. Unfortunately, would be great. Obviously, it's just not how it works. So yeah, get established clients, set the expectations right, and you will counter this one as much as possible. So those are basically the 3 reasons I see most people quit with their agency and shut it down and try and do something else. I will say though, does this mean that you should never start a coaching or a SaaS business or whatever next thing you're going to do? No, obviously you should still do that. But I think most of you watching here will be more so beginner agency owners. And if you want to make your first couple of 100K in profits, then this business model is just the best there is, especially if you apply the leverage from automation, if you apply the leverage from labor like we talked about, and also if you start creating content around what your agency does, you can still get great results. And it's beginner friendly because it's low risk, and like I said, you can scale it up to a couple 100K in profit each and every year, take home, and get yourself off the ground, and then go and discover what you're going to want to do next, and kind of take that level 2 business model or level 3 business model, whatever you want to call it, and go to the next level. So if you like this type of content, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, leave a comment, and I'll see you all in the next one. Cheers.